Vylora Prime floated in the darkness of space like a jewel. The massive station orbited a purple gas giant, and thousands of ships came and went every day. It was a place where aliens from across the galaxy met to trade, talk, and live together. The station had markets full of strange foods, temples for 100 different religions, and streets where dozens of alien languages mixed together in a constant buzz of sound. Jiwoo walked through the Eastern District with her datapad in 2 of her 4 hands. She was Kelthera, and her skin glowed softly with a pale blue light. Her people were known across the galaxy as diplomats and telepaths. They lived for centuries and spent their long lives building bridges between different species. Jiwoo worked at the Coalition Embassy, helping new species understand galactic laws and customs. It was important work, but sometimes it felt lonely. She stopped in front of a small shop she had passed 1,000 times before, but never entered. The sign above the door said Earth Memories in several languages. Through the window, she could see shelves full of strange objects, paintings hung on the walls, small statues sat on tables. Everything looked old and carefully arranged. Jiwoo pushed open the door. A soft chime rang. The shop smelled like old paper and wood polish. Behind a counter at the back stood a human man. He was tall and thin with dark hair and gentle eyes. He looked up from a book and smiled. "Welcome," he said quietly. "Please look around." Jiwoo had met humans before. They were a new species in the Coalition, having joined only 30 years ago. Most aliens thought humans were weak and unimportant. They had no special abilities like telepathy or strength. They lived short lives and came from a small planet in an unremarkable part of the galaxy. But something about this human's calm presence made Jiwoo curious. She walked slowly through the shop looking at the items. There was a painting of a mountain with snow on top, a ceramic bowl with blue patterns, a sword in a plain wooden sheath hanging on the wall. Everything was simple but beautiful in a way she could not quite explain. "What is this?" she asked, pointing at the sword. The human walked over. "That is a hwando, a Korean blade from Earth. It is very old." Korean? Jiwoo did not know the word. "A place on Earth, a peninsula surrounded by water. My ancestors lived there." He said it simply, without pride or sadness. "Do humans still use swords?" Jiwoo asked. The galaxy had energy weapons and plasma rifles. Swords seemed primitive. "No," the human said, smiling slightly. "Not anymore. These are just memories now. Pieces of history." Over the next few weeks, Jiwoo found herself returning to the shop. The human's name was Tae-hyun, and he spoke softly about each object he sold. He told her about Earth's art, its philosophy, its long history. When she asked about his own life, he would deflect gently, changing the subject or offering tea instead of answers. "Why did you leave Earth?" she asked one day. Tae-hyun was quiet for a moment. "I wanted peace," he finally said. "Earth can be loud. Here, running this shop, I found quiet." Jiwoo understood wanting peace. Her own life was filled with meetings and arguments, with politicians who cared more about power than people. But there was something mysterious about Tae-hyun. When she tried to read his emotions telepathically, the way Kelthera naturally did, she found nothing. His mind was like a closed door. She had never met anyone she could not read before. "Is something wrong?" Tae-hyun asked, noticing her concentration. "No," Jiwoo said quickly. "I was just thinking. Human minds are different. I cannot sense your feelings. Is that important?" he asked. Jiwoo thought about it. "No," she said honestly. "Your words are enough." Months passed. Jiwoo visited the shop almost every day. Sometimes she bought small things. Sometimes she just talked. Tae-hyun was an excellent listener. He never interrupted, never judged. He made her feel seen in a way that was rare in her busy diplomatic life. One evening, as rain fell against the station's transparent ceiling panels high above, Tae-hyun closed his shop early. "Would you like to have dinner?" he asked. They went to a small restaurant that served food from a dozen worlds. Tae-hyun ordered dishes Jiwoo had never tried before. They talked for hours. She told him about her family, about her father who was an admiral in the Coalition fleet, about her mother who had died when Jiwoo was young. Tae-hyun listened and occasionally shared small pieces of his own past. He had siblings somewhere. He had traveled far. He had seen difficult things but found beauty in the galaxy anyway. "My family would not approve of you," Jiwoo said suddenly, surprising herself with her honesty. Tae-hyun's expression did not change. Because I am human? Yes, they think humans are weak. Lesser. They do not understand why the Coalition accepted Earth as a member. And what do you think? Taehyun asked gently. Ji-woo looked at him. Really looked. She saw kindness in his eyes, patience in the way he held himself, strength in the quiet confidence of his voice. I think they are wrong, she said. 6 months after they met, Taehyun asked Ji-woo to marry him. He did it simply, without grand gestures or expensive gifts. He just asked, standing in his shop surrounded by memories of Earth. Ji-woo said yes. Her family reacted exactly as she expected. Her father refused to attend the ceremony. Her aunts and uncles sent messages saying she was making a terrible mistake, throwing away her status, embarrassing the family name. But Ji-woo had spent her whole life trying to please others. For once, she wanted to choose for herself. The wedding was small. A few of Ji-woo's friends came. Some other humans who lived on the station attended. People Taehyun knew but rarely spoke about. The ceremony mixed Kelthera and human traditions. When it was over, Ji-woo and Taehyun moved into the apartment above his shop. Life became wonderfully ordinary. Ji-woo went to work at the embassy. Taehyun ran his shop. They cooked meals together, combining alien and human recipes with mixed results. They talked late into the night about philosophy and art. They were happy. Then the news started coming. Strange ships were appearing at the edge of Coalition space. Ships that did not respond to hails. Ships with weapons far more advanced than anything the Coalition had. The Vraxian Dominion, an empire that had been expanding through distant regions of the galaxy for centuries, was making demands. They wanted tribute, resources, submission. The Coalition Council met in emergency sessions. They talked about diplomacy, about negotiations, about peaceful solutions. The Coalition had known peace for 3 generations. Their military was small and ceremonial. No one alive remembered real war. On the streets of Valora Prime, people began to worry. Would the Coalition fight? Would they surrender? What would happen to border worlds, to stations like this one? Ji-woo noticed that Taehyun seemed unconcerned. He read the news reports calmly. When she expressed her fears, he held her hand and said everything would be all right. His certainty was comforting but also strange. How could he be so sure? She did not know that every night after she fell asleep, Taehyun would go downstairs to his shop. He would take the Hwando sword from the wall and practice with it in the darkness, moving through forms he had learned decades ago, forms he had hoped never to use again. The quiet life he had built was precious to him. His marriage to Ji-woo was the first real thing he had allowed himself in 20 years. But old instincts were waking up, and deep in his bones Taehyun knew the peace was ending. He was not afraid of what was coming. He was afraid of what Ji-woo would think of him when she learned the truth. The alarm started at dawn. Ji-woo woke to the sound of sirens screaming through every corridor of the station. Red emergency lights flashed through the bedroom window. Taehyun was already awake, already dressed, standing by the window and looking out at the stars. What is happening? Ji-woo asked, reaching for her communicator. They are here, Taehyun said quietly. The Vraxians. Ji-woo's communicator exploded with messages. Emergency broadcasts, evacuation orders, panic. She pulled up the station's external cameras and her 4 hands began to shake. Massive warships surrounded Valora Prime. They were black and covered in angular armor bristling with weapons. Even through the camera feed, they looked predatory and wrong. The Coalition Defense Fleet was engaging them, but it was not a battle. It was a slaughter. Coalition ships had been designed for patrol and ceremony, not war. The Vraxian vessels tore through them like they were made of paper. Explosions bloomed silently in the void. We need to evacuate, Ji-woo said, pulling on her clothes. The embassy will have ships. The embassy is in the central district, Taehyun said. We will not make it there in time. As if to prove his point, something hit the station. The entire structure shook. Items fell from shelves in the shop below. The lights flickered and went out, replaced by emergency backups that cast everything in dim red. Ji-woo opened the news feeds. The Vraxians were not just attacking the fleet. They were boarding the station. Drop pods and assault shuttles were burning through the outer hull in dozens of places. She saw video from security cameras. Massive armored figures were pouring into the corridors. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, reptilian and covered in powered armor. They carried weapons that turned living beings into ash. Coalition security forces tried to stop them. Ji-woo watched officers she knew, People she had worked with die in seconds. The Vraxians moved with brutal efficiency. They shot anyone who resisted. They grabbed others and dragged them toward their ships. Slaves, Jiwoo realized with horror. They were taking slaves. "We have to go," she said. "Now." Taehyun nodded slowly. He walked to his closet and pulled out a long coat. He put it on carefully, adjusting it. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice had changed. It was still quiet, but there was something hard in it now, something that made Jiwoo's telepathic senses tingle with warning. They went downstairs. The shop was a mess. The earthquake-like impacts had knocked over shelves. The Hwando sword had fallen from the wall. Taehyun picked it up. He attached it to his belt under the coat. "Why are you bringing that?" Jiwoo asked. "Just in case," Taehyun said. They left through the back entrance and entered the station's service corridors. These narrow passages were used by maintenance workers and were less crowded than the main streets. But even here there was chaos. People ran in every direction. Some carried children. Others carried whatever possessions they could grab. Everyone was terrified. Jiwoo and Taehyun moved against the flow, heading toward the docking bays. If they could reach a ship, any ship, they might escape. But as they turned a corner, Jiwoo saw something that froze her blood. A Vraxian soldier stood at the end of the corridor. He was huge, easily twice the size of any human. His armor was scarred from battle and covered in symbols Jiwoo did not recognize. He held a massive rifle in his clawed hands. Behind him, 5 more soldiers blocked the passage. The lead Vraxian saw them and laughed. It was a harsh grating sound that echoed off the metal walls. He said something in his own language. His armor translated it into common galactic speech. "More prey. The small one will sell well. The human." The Vraxian made a dismissive gesture. "Humans are worth nothing. Kill it." One of the soldiers behind him raised his weapon. Jiwoo felt terror grip her heart. She tried to pull Taehyun back, to run, but he stepped forward instead. He positioned himself between her and the Vraxians. "Go back," Taehyun said to them. His voice was still quiet. "Leave this place. There is still time." The Vraxians laughed again. The leader stepped forward. "The human speaks. Does it think words will save it? Your species is weak. Your planet will be conquered within a year. You will all be slaves or corpses." "No," Taehyun said simply. "We will not." The Vraxian's expression changed. Something in Taehyun's tone made him pause. "You dare threaten us? We have conquered 100 worlds. Your Earth is nothing." Taehyun was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, colder. "Tell me something. When your intelligence services studied humanity, when you planned your invasion of our territory, did you ask one important question?" The Vraxian tilted his head. "What question?" "What did humans do before we joined the coalition?" Taehyun asked. "You were primitives," the Vraxian said. "Barely past your industrial age. You are nothing." "Wrong," Taehyun said softly. Then his hand moved. Jiwoo barely saw it. One moment Taehyun was standing still. The next, the Hwando sword was in his hand, drawn in a motion so fast it seemed to blur. The blade caught the red emergency light and seemed to drink it in. The lead Vraxian swung his rifle up. Taehyun moved again. What happened next took 8 seconds, but to Jiwoo it felt like an eternity compressed into impossible moments. Taehyun flowed forward like water. The sword moved in arcs that seemed to defy physics. The first Vraxian's rifle fell apart in 2 pieces. The second soldier's armor somehow opened along seams that should not exist. The third collapsed without a mark on him. His internal systems shut down with surgical precision. The leader roared and lunged with powered fists that could crush steel. Taehyun was not there. He was behind the Vraxian, and the massive soldier fell forward, his armor's power supply severed. The last 2 soldiers fired their weapons. Energy bolts screamed down the corridor. Taehyun moved between them like he knew where each shot would be before it was fired. Then it was over. 6 elite Vraxian soldiers lay on the ground, dead or disabled. Taehyun stood among them, not even breathing hard. The sword was clean. He had not gotten a single drop of blood on himself. He turned and looked at Jiwoo. His eyes were sad. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I hoped you would never have to see this." Jiwoo could not speak. Her 4 hands were trembling. Her telepathic senses were screaming danger warnings, but they were coming from her own husband. She had lived with this man for months. She had married him. She thought she knew him. She had been completely wrong. "Who are you?" she finally whispered. Taehyun sheathed the sword. He walked to her slowly, hands raised like he was approaching a frightened animal. I am still the man you married. I am still Tai-hyun. I still love you. But there are things about me, about humans, that you do not know, things we hid from the galaxy. Another explosion rocked the station. Screams echoed from nearby corridors. Taehyun's expression hardened. We need to find shelter. Somewhere defensible. Then I will explain everything. Explain now, Jiwoo demanded. Fear was giving way to anger. You just killed 6 soldiers like it was nothing. That is not normal. That is not some hidden human ability. That was training. Decades of training. Yes, Taehyun said. It was. So you lied to me. About everything. No, Taehyun said firmly. I never lied. I told you I wanted peace. That was true. I told you I ran a shop selling memories. That was true. I just did not tell you what I was before I found peace. And what were you? Jiwoo asked. Taehyun met her eyes. I was a soldier. One of the best humanity ever produced. Before we joined the coalition, Earth was at war. Not with aliens. With ourselves. For 300 years we fought. And when it was finally over, when we united and reached for the stars, we made a choice. We would hide what we were. We would seem weak and harmless. We would integrate peacefully. Why? Jiwoo asked. Because we were tired, Taehyun said. Tired of war. Tired of death. We wanted to build something better. And we did. For 30 years we lived quietly among you. We were merchants and artists and teachers. We were good neighbors. His expression grew grim. But we never forgot how to fight. We just hoped we would never need to again. He pulled a small device from his pocket. It was old, worn, clearly ancient Earth technology. He pressed a button and spoke a phrase in a human language Jiwoo did not understand. What was that? She asked. A signal, Taehyun said. If the Vraxians are invading coalition space, if they are attacking stations and threatening Earth, then the time for pretending is over. Others like me will have received the same alert. They will answer. Others? Jiwoo asked. How many others? Taehyun looked at her. Thousands. Scattered across the galaxy, living quiet lives, waiting. Jiwoo felt the world tilt. Everything she thought she knew about humanity was wrong. They were not weak. They were not helpless. They were predators pretending to be prey, and she had married one of them. Come on, Taehyun said, offering his hand. I will keep you safe. I promise. Jiwoo stared at his hand. She did not know if she could trust him anymore. But the station was burning and enemies were hunting them, and despite everything, she believed one thing he had said. He would keep her safe. She took his hand. Together they ran into the chaos. They found shelter in an old storage bay deep in the station's lower levels. The room was filled with forgotten equipment and dust. Taehyun sealed the door and checked it twice. Then he sat down against a wall and gestured for Jiwoo to sit across from him. She did, keeping her distance. Her mind was racing. The man she had married, the gentle shopkeeper who spoke softly about art and philosophy, had just killed trained soldiers with movements so fast she could barely track them. It did not make sense. Ask your questions, Taehyun said. I will answer everything now. Start at the beginning, Jiwoo said. The real beginning. Taehyun nodded. He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. When humanity developed faster than light travel, we were not united. Earth was divided into nations, hundreds of them, all competing for resources and power. The galaxy thinks we peacefully formed a world government and then joined the coalition. That is not what happened. What really happened? Jiwoo asked. War, Taehyun said simply. The unification wars, they lasted 300 years. Every continent fought. Nuclear weapons were used. Biological weapons. Things that should never have been created. Billions died. Cities turned to ash. For a while, we thought we might destroy ourselves completely. Jiwoo tried to imagine it. 300 years of war. Her own species had conflicts, but nothing on that scale. How did you survive? We learned, Taehyun said. We learned how to fight better, how to hide better, how to kill more efficiently. Every generation refined the art of war. Eventually, we developed weapons and soldiers so dangerous that using them guaranteed mutual destruction. That fear finally forced peace. And you were one of these soldiers? Jiwoo asked. Yes, I was part of a unit called the Silent Blades. Special operations. We were trained in both ancient combat techniques and advanced warfare. We could infiltrate anywhere, eliminate any target, survive any environment. There were only 200 of us in the entire unit. We were the best of the best. He said it without pride, just stating a fact. How long did you serve? 23 years, Taehyun said. From age 17 to 40, I did things I am not proud of. I followed orders I wish I could forget. But I also saved lives, protected civilians, did what I could to make the endless fighting mean something. Jiwoo looked at him differently now. He seemed older somehow, carrying weight she had never noticed. And when the war ended, Earth united under a single government. We had finally had enough of killing each other. We turned our eyes to the stars and found the coalition. We applied for membership. Taehyun smiled slightly. The coalition almost rejected us. They thought we were primitive and violent. But we needed to seem harmless, so we showed them our art, our culture, our philosophy. We talked about peace and cooperation. We hid our weapons and our warriors. You lied to the entire galaxy, Jiwoo said. We omitted truth, Taehyun corrected. Everything we showed was real. Humanity does love peace. We do create beautiful art, we do value life. But we also know how to end life, and that knowledge never goes away. Jiwoo thought about all the times aliens had dismissed humans as weak. All the jokes about humanity's lack of abilities, all the condescension. It had all been deliberate. What happened to the soldiers? To people like you? We were disbanded. The Silent Blades and other special units were officially dissolved. We were given new identities, new lives, and sent across the galaxy. We became normal citizens, merchants, teachers, farmers, artists. We integrated into coalition society. But you were still soldiers, Jiwoo said. Always, Taehyun agreed. You cannot erase that kind of training. It becomes part of you. But we were given orders. Never reveal our past unless absolutely necessary. Never use violence unless there was no other choice. Live quiet lives and hope the galaxy never needs us again. And the mental blocks? Jiwoo asked. Why can I not read your mind? Taehyun touched his temple. Surgical modifications. Psionic shielding. Standard procedure for all Silent Blades. We operated in hostile territory where telepathic species might capture us. Our minds had to be locked. The modifications are permanent. Jiwoo felt a chill. How much planning had gone into this deception? What else do humans have? What other secrets? Every human in coalition space has basic combat training, Taehyun said. It is part of our education system. We call it physical education and self-defense, but it is military training by another name. Every human ship has hidden weapons. Every colony has emergency protocols. We told ourselves it was just preparation, just being cautious. But really, we were still at war. We just changed enemies. From each other to potential alien threats, Jiwoo said. Yes, Jiwoo felt betrayed. Not just by Taehyun, but by humanity as a whole. 30 years of friendship had been built on half-truths. How many humans are like you? Former soldiers? In the coalition? Maybe 10,000. Most did 1 or 2 tours. They have training, but are not elite. People like me, former special operations? Taehyun paused. About 3,000 scattered across dozens of worlds. We were given the most dangerous assignment. Live among aliens. Watch for threats. Report back. Never break cover unless war comes. And now war has come, Jiwoo said. Yes. Taehyun pulled out the old communication device again. When I activated this, I sent a specific code. It means the agreement is broken. The peace is over. Every former Silent Blade who received it will acknowledge and activate. We have contingency plans for various scenarios. The Vraxian invasion matches Pattern 7, which is superior enemy force attacks coalition space. Coalition military is insufficient. Hidden human forces activate to augment defense and conduct special operations. He said it like reading from a manual, which he probably was, mentally. You planned for this, Jiwoo said. You knew it might happen. We hoped it would not, Taehyun said. But hope is not a strategy. Humans learned that lesson through centuries of blood. Jiwoo stood and paced the small room. Her 4 hands gestured as she thought. Does Earth's government know about this? About you and the others? Yes, the president and a small council. They gave the orders 30 years ago, and have maintained contact through secure channels. When I sent my signal, Earth's government will have received it too. They will know we are activating. And what will they do? That depends on the coalition, Taehyun said. If the coalition asks for help, Earth will offer it openly. If the coalition refuses out of pride, we will help anyway, just more quietly. Jiwoo stopped pacing and looked at him. Why did you marry me? Was I part of your assignment? Taehyun stood. His expression was pained. No, my assignment ended 5 years ago. I could have gone back to Earth, but I stayed. I opened the shop. I tried to build a real life. When I met you, it was not part of any plan. I fell in love with you because you were kind and curious and saw me as a person, not as a weak human. You were the first real thing in my life in decades. But you never told me the truth, Jiwoo said. I could not, Taehyun said. The orders were absolute. Tell no one. I wanted to. Every day I wanted to. But I had sworn an oath and I thought maybe we could live our whole lives and you would never need to know. I wanted to protect you from this part of me. I do not need protection, Jiwoo said sharply. I need honesty. You are right, Taehyun said. I am sorry. If we survive this, I will never hide anything from you again. The station shook again. Distant explosions echoed through the walls. Jiwoo checked her communicator. The Vraxians controlled most of the station now. The coalition fleet was destroyed. Evacuation ships were being shot down. It was a disaster. What do we do now? She asked. We survive, Taehyun said. We find other survivors and organize resistance. We make the Vraxians pay for every corridor, and we wait for reinforcements. From Earth? From humans already here, Taehyun said. There are 27 former Silent Blades on this station. Before today, we were scattered, working normal jobs, living separate lives. But we know how to find each other. We have protocols. Within hours, we will be organized. 27 of you against thousands of Vraxians? Jiwoo said. Taehyun smiled. It was not his gentle shopkeeper smile. It was something harder, sharper. You saw what I did to 6 soldiers. Now imagine 27 of me, coordinated, operating in familiar terrain with friendly civilians providing intelligence. The Vraxians are good at conquering. They are less good at occupying against guerrilla resistance. We will teach them why humans do not stay conquered. Jiwoo realized she was seeing Taehyun as he truly was for the first time. The gentle exterior was real, but underneath was a warrior who had survived 3 centuries of humanity's bloodiest period. She did not know if she could trust him anymore as a husband, but she absolutely believed he could protect her. I need time, she said. To process this, to figure out what I feel. I understand, Taehyun said. Take all the time you need. But first we survive, Jiwoo said. First we survive, Taehyun agreed. He moved to the door and listened. Clear, we should move. I know a safe house in the residential quarter. Other humans will gather there. Jiwoo followed him into the corridor. As they moved through the ruined station, she watched him differently now. Every movement was efficient. Every glance scanned for threats. He was not walking. He was patrolling. Her husband was a weapon. On Nexus Station, 30 light-years from Veilora Prime, a woman named Yunha was organizing books in the Coalition Library when her old communicator vibrated. She was human, middle-aged, with gray streaking her black hair. She wore simple clothes and glasses. Everyone thought she was just a librarian who loved ancient texts. She looked at the device. The code displayed made her heart sink. She closed her eyes for a moment, then walked calmly to the back office. She opened a locked drawer that had not been touched in 20 years. Inside was a compact rifle, a combat knife, and identification that showed her real rank. Silent Commander, the highest authority among the scattered former soldiers. In the Kepler colony on the edge of Coalition space, a man named Daewon was teaching children about Earth music when his device signaled. He was a gentle teacher who made his students laugh. He finished the lesson calmly, sent the children home early, and then went to his small apartment. From beneath the floorboards he pulled out armor that still fit perfectly, and weapons he had maintained even though he hoped never to use them again. On Thelos 7, a farmer named Bora was tending her crops when the signal came. She had been growing alien vegetables for 15 years, living peacefully with her wife and adopted children. She stood in her field for a long moment, dirt on her hands, tears on her face. Then she went to the barn and dug up the equipment she had buried. Her wife watched from the house, knowing but never asking. Now there would be no more secrets. Across the galaxy in dozens of systems, thousands of humans received the signal. They stopped what they were doing. They retrieved hidden weapons. They remembered who they had been, The quiet ones, the forgettable ones, the weak humans who everyone dismissed, transformed, and they began to move. In Coalition Command Center, Admiral Haiyan Wu stared at tactical displays showing nothing but red. Red meant lost ships, fallen positions, enemy advances. The Vraxian invasion was succeeding beyond their worst predictions. His fleet was shattered. Border worlds were surrendering. The council was in chaos, arguing about terms of peace while their civilization burned. Haiyan Wu was a proud man, a career officer from a proud species. But pride meant nothing when your fleet was destroyed. He was preparing evacuation orders when his aide announced visitors. "Tell them I am busy," Haiyan Wu said without looking up. "Sir, they say it is urgent." "They are human." Haiyan Wu almost laughed. Humans. What could they possibly offer? But he had no better options. "Fine, send them in." 3 humans entered. 2 men and a woman. They wore civilian clothes but moved like soldiers. The woman stepped forward. She was older, with gray hair and a calm expression. "Admiral Haiyan Wu," she said. "My name is Yunha. I represent humanity's interests in this crisis. We would like to help." "Help?" Haiyan Wu said. "No offense, but your species barely has a military. What can you possibly offer?" "More than you know," Yunha said. She placed a data chip on his desk. "This contains complete Vraxian fleet positions, command structures, supply lines, and tactical weaknesses." Haiyan Wu stared at the chip. "How would you have this information?" "We have been watching them," Yunha said. "For 20 years, ever since we identified the Vraxian Dominion as a potential threat. We inserted operatives into their territory. We mapped their empire. We prepared." "You spied on another species?" Haiyan Wu said. "That violates coalition law." "Yes," Yunha said simply. "We did. We also violated laws by maintaining hidden military assets, by training our civilians, by building weapon systems the coalition does not know about. We have broken many laws, Admiral, but right now we are offering to save your civilization. I suggest you worry about legality later." Haiyan Wu's aide loaded the data chip. Information flooded the screens. Detailed intelligence. Ship positions updated within the hour. Weak points in Vraxian armor. Communication frequencies. It was everything they needed and more. "This is impossible," the aide said. "This would take decades to gather." "It did," Yunha said. "We started gathering it 30 years ago, when we joined the coalition. We hoped we would never need to use it." Haiyan Wu looked at the 3 humans with new eyes. They stood calmly, not like civilians but like officers, like warriors. "Who are you really?" "We are the people humanity sent to protect the coalition," Yunha said. "Even when you did not know you needed protection. We lived among you. We watched for threats, and now the threat is here. We are activating." "Activating what?" Haiyan Wu demanded. "Approximately 3,000 former Special Operations soldiers, scattered across coalition space. 10,000 additional personnel with military training, hidden weapon systems on civilian ships, intelligence networks, supply caches, contingency plans we built over 3 decades. Yunha met his eyes. "A shadow military that exists for one purpose: to defend this galaxy when conventional forces fail." Haiyan Wu felt anger and hope warring in his chest. "You have been deceiving us, planning behind our backs." "Yes," Yunha said, "because humans learned hard lessons that the coalition has not. Peace is precious, but it only survives when good people prepare for war. You built a beautiful civilization, Admiral. You just forgot to defend it properly. We remembered." "And you expect me to trust you?" Haiyan Wu said. "To hand over command to humans?" "No," Yunha said. "You remain in command. Your fleet, your decisions. We only offer intelligence and special operations support. We work for you, not the other way around. But you need to decide quickly, Admiral. The Vraxians are moving toward the core worlds. In 3 days, they will reach your home world. You can reject our help out of pride, or you can use every weapon available to save your people." Haiyan Wu thought of his own daughter, Ji Wu. He had refused to attend her wedding to a human. He had called humans weak and worthless. Now humans were offering to save his entire species. The irony was bitter. "What do you need from me?" he asked. "Authorization to operate freely in coalition space," Yunha said. "Access to military communications. And your word that you will follow through on the tactical plans we provide." "You already have plans?" "We have had plans for 16 years, Yunha said. We call it Response Pattern 7, defend key positions. disrupt enemy supply lines, conduct deep raids on command vessels, force the Vraxians to fight on multiple fronts simultaneously. It will not be easy. Many will die, but it can work. Hyunwoo looked at his tactical displays again. Without help, they would lose everything in days. With help, even from surprising sources, they might survive. Pride was a luxury he could not afford. Do it, he said. You have authorization. Yoon-ha nodded. She touched her communicator and spoke a code phrase. Across the galaxy, thousands of humans received new orders. The waiting was over. On Valora Prime, Taehyun's communicator vibrated with confirmation. He was in the safe house with Jiwoo and 15 other humans. They had been gathering survivors, organizing resistance cells, preparing for a long occupation. Now the orders changed. We are going offensive, Taehyun said to the group. Command has authorized full activation. We take back the station. A younger human, former soldier named Jae-won, grinned. About time. I was getting tired of hiding. This will not be hiding, an older woman named Sunmi said. She had been a pilot. This will be the kind of fighting that gets people killed. Stay focused. Taehyun turned to Jiwoo. You should stay here. It will be safer. No, Jiwoo said. I am coming with you. My telepathic abilities can detect Vraxian positions. I can be useful. It will be dangerous, Taehyun said. Everything is dangerous now, Jiwoo said. Besides, I want to see what humans are really capable of. Over the next 2 days, the galaxy learned. On Valora Prime, the Vraxian occupiers began losing soldiers. Patrols disappeared. Commanders died in their quarters. Supply depots exploded. The humans fought like ghosts, appearing from nowhere, striking hard, vanishing. The Vraxians called for reinforcements, but those ships never arrived. They were ambushed in transit by civilian vessels that somehow had military-grade weapons. At the Aegis line, the coalition fleet stopped retreating. With human intelligence, they knew where to strike. They targeted specific ships, disabled key systems, created chaos in enemy formations. The Vraxians had never fought an enemy this coordinated before. Deep in Vraxian territory, human operatives who had been embedded for years began sabotage operations. Supply chains collapsed. Communication networks went dark. The Vraxian High Command realized they were not fighting a weak coalition. They were fighting humanity, and humanity had been preparing for this war before the Vraxians even knew they existed. In the Coalition Command Center, Hyun-woo watched the tactical displays turn from red to yellow to green. Slowly, impossibly, they were pushing back. His aide looked stunned. How are they doing this? The aide asked. Experience, Hyun-woo said quietly. He finally understood. Humanity had fought wars the Coalition could not imagine. They had refined violence into an art form, and then they had hidden it behind smiles and art shops and quiet lives waiting. He thought of his daughter and the human she had married. He had been so certain humans were beneath her. Now he wondered if any of them truly understood what humanity was. Yoon-ha approached his command station. The counteroffensive is succeeding, but we need to break their will. The Vraxian leadership respects strength. The message came while Taehyun was planning the assault on the Vraxian command center. His communicator displayed orders directly from Silent Commander Yoon-ha. He read them twice, then closed his eyes. What is it? Jiwoo asked. She had been working with him for 2 days now, using her telepathic abilities to map enemy positions. She had seen him fight multiple times, coordinating human resistance with precision that amazed her. But now he looked troubled. Vector, the Vraxian Supreme Commander, has issued a challenge. Single combat. The Coalition has accepted on humanity's behalf. Taehyun looked at her. They want me to fight him. Can you refuse? Jiwoo asked. Technically, yes, Taehyun said. But this is bigger than me. The Vraxians respect strength. If I win, they will negotiate. It could save thousands of lives. And if you lose, then someone else will have to finish what we started. Taehyun said simply. The duel was set for neutral ground, in a large cargo bay that both sides could access. It would be broadcast across the galaxy. Millions would watch. The Vraxians wanted to demonstrate their superiority. Humanity wanted to send a different message. Taehyun prepared carefully. He cleaned his Hwando blade, checked his armor, meditated for an hour. Jiwoo sat with him. I watched you fight, she said. You are fast, skilled. But that Vraxian commander is huge, experienced. Size is not everything, Taehyun said. I have fought bigger opponents. The key is understanding how they think, how they move. Vraxians are strong but predictable. They rely on power, not precision. You sound confident. I am prepared, Taehyun corrected. Confidence gets you killed. Preparation keeps you alive. Jiwoo reached out and took his hand. Come back to me. I will try, Taehyun said. But Jiwoo, if something happens, I need you to know that these past months with you were the happiest of my life. You gave me peace. Real peace, not just absence of war. Whatever happens today, thank you for that. Nothing is going to happen, Jiwoo said firmly. You are going to win, and then we are going to have a very long conversation about honesty in marriages. Taehyun smiled. I look forward to it. The cargo bay was massive, cleared of everything except a marked circle in the center. Coalition forces held one side. Vraxian forces held the other. Cameras floated above, broadcasting to both empires. The tension was thick enough to cut. Taehyun walked to the center. He wore light armor and carried only his sword. He looked small, almost fragile. Then Vector emerged from the Vraxian side. He was enormous, nearly 9 feet tall, covered in battle-scarred armor. He carried a massive blade that glowed with energy. He had killed hundreds in personal combat. He was a legend among his people. He looked at Taehyun and laughed. This is humanity's champion? A merchant with an antique sword? I will crush you quickly, little human, and then I will conquer your pathetic planet. Taehyun bowed slightly. Let us begin. The signal was given. Vector charged immediately, his energy blade swinging in a massive arc meant to split Taehyun in half. It was brutally powerful and impossibly fast. Taehyun was not there. He had moved before Vector finished his swing, reading the attack from the commander's stance and momentum. The energy blade hit empty floor with a shower of sparks. Taehyun's counter was immediate. His Wando blade struck Vector's armor, finding a joint, drawing first blood. It was not a deep wound, just a message. I can touch you anytime I want. Vector roared and spun, faster than something his size should move. His blade created a whirlwind of energy. Taehyun flowed around it like water, his footwork perfect, his blade darting in and out, finding gaps, accumulating damage. The pattern repeated. Vector attacked with overwhelming force. Taehyun evaded with minimal movement, countered with surgical precision. The Vraxian was stronger, but strength meant nothing if you could not hit your target. Jiwoo watched from the coalition side, her heart pounding. She could sense the emotions in the room. The Vraxians were confident at first, then confused, then worried. The coalition forces were amazed. They had never seen anything like this. Taehyun was not fighting. He was teaching a lesson. Every missed attack frustrated Vector more. Every small wound accumulated. The Vraxian commander was used to overwhelming opponents with raw power. Against someone who refused to be overwhelmed, who turned power into weakness, he had no answer. 5 minutes into the fight, Vector was bleeding from a dozen wounds. Taehyun had not been touched once. The cameras captured everything. Billions watched a human, a supposedly weak species, dismantle a Vraxian legend. Impossible, Vector roared. You are human! You are nothing. We were never nothing, Taehyun said calmly, circling. You just assumed we were because we chose peace. That was your mistake. Vector charged again, abandoning technique for pure rage. Taehyun waited until the last possible moment, then moved. Not away, but forward. Inside the swing's arc where the massive blade could not reach, his Wando blade moved in 3 precise strikes. The first cut severed the power supply to Vector's armor. The second opened a major blood vessel. The third was mercy, quick and clean to the heart. Vector fell. The cargo bay was silent. Taehyun cleaned his blade and sheathed it. He bowed to the fallen commander, showing respect even in victory. Then he turned and walked back to the coalition side. The room exploded into chaos. Coalition forces cheered. Vraxian forces stood in shock. Their invincible commander had been defeated in minutes by a human merchant with an old sword. Jiwoo ran to Taehyun. He caught her in his arms, holding her close. I came back, he said quietly. I knew you would, Jiwoo lied. And he smiled because he knew she was lying but appreciated it anyway. The Vraxian fleet withdrew within hours. Their leadership, shocked by the loss and by the coordinated resistance they faced, requested negotiations. They had expected an easy conquest. Instead, they found an enemy that had been preparing for decades and fought with terrifying skill. The Coalition Council met in emergency session. Questions were raised about humanity's deception, about the hidden soldiers, about the weapons and intelligence networks they had not disclosed. Some called for sanctions, others called for gratitude. In the end, pragmatism won. Humanity had saved the coalition. Laws had been broken, but civilizations had been preserved. An agreement was reached. Humanity would integrate its hidden forces into official coalition military structures. No more secrets, but also no punishment for past deceptions. On Earth, the president gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. She acknowledged what humanity had done, explained why they had done it, and offered no apologies. "We joined you seeking peace," she said. "But we came from war and we remembered its lessons. We hid our strength not from malice but from hope that we would never need it. Now that you have seen what we are, we ask that you judge us by what we choose, not what we are capable of. We choose peace. We choose cooperation. We choose to build something better together." The galaxy accepted, because they had no choice. Humanity was here, and they were not the weak newcomers everyone had assumed. Months passed. Valora Prime was rebuilt. The Vraxian Dominion, humbled by their defeat, retreated to their borders and opened actual diplomatic channels. The coalition military restructured, with human advisors helping to develop real defensive capabilities. Taehyun and Jiwoo reopened their shop. The sword hung on the wall again, but now everyone knew what it meant. Some aliens avoided the shop, uncomfortable with what they had learned about humans. Others came specifically because of it, curious about the species that had hidden such capability. One day, Jiwoo was arranging new items when the door chimed. She looked up and froze. Her father, Admiral Hyun-woo, stood in the doorway. He wore civilian clothes, not his uniform. He looked uncomfortable. "Father," Jiwoo said, surprised. "Jiwoo," Hyun-woo said. He looked around the shop, at the Earth artifacts, at the sword on the wall. "Is your husband here?" "In the back," Jiwoo said. "Taehyun, we have a visitor." Taehyun emerged from the storage room. He saw Hyun-woo and stopped. The two men regarded each other in silence. Finally, Hyun-woo bowed. It was a deep bow full of respect. "I came to apologize. I judged you wrongly. I judged your entire species wrongly. You saved my fleet. You saved my world. And you love my daughter. I was a fool not to see your value." Taehyun bowed back, equally deep. "You protected your daughter as you thought best. That is a father's duty. And you led your people through impossible circumstances. That is an admiral's burden. You have nothing to apologize for. May I sit?" Hyun-woo asked. "Of course," Taehyun said. He prepared tea using an earth ceremony that was beautiful in its simplicity. The three of them sat together. "I watched your duel," Hyun-woo said. "I watched a recording many times trying to understand. How did you defeat Vector so easily?" "It was not easy," Taehyun said. "He was skilled and strong, but he fought the way Vraxians always fight, with overwhelming force. I fought the way humans learned to fight over 300 years of war against ourselves. We learned that survival requires adaptation, precision, and understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves." "You make it sound like philosophy," Hyun-woo said. "It is," Taehyun said. "War is philosophy. The philosophy of violence, yes, but philosophy nonetheless. Humanity studied it intensely because we had to. We became very good at it,